Douglas was actually walking into his job today, whatever day it is, believing that he was getting a promotion. He was going to be vice president of whatever blah 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 they said for the company. Didn't know this merger. Well, he walks into his boss's office and finds out that Debbie Moore, who he used to sleep with a long time ago before he got married, is actually taking the position as part of the merger, because she actually sparked the merger into happening. So he's a little upset about that. That's what you saw in the first part. And as you can see also, they were saying how the company never had a female vice president. People were always against it. Donald Sutherland, who was the big boss, talking at the beginning of the little conference they were having, he was saying how he would hope that his daughter would have the ability to, or have the opportunity to work for a major company and be a higher up because of moves like the moves that he was making a woman VP. What I want to talk about at this point, before we even get into anything else, I want to talk about the change in roles, or the adjustment, the growth, in bringing more women into higher positions, professional positions, at jobs. How has the conditions at work changed? How has the atmosphere changed within different companies over the past, let's say, 30, 40 years? I mean, we have people in here who are, obviously professional women. Positions that you might not have had the opportunity to be in, say, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. How have things changed in, say, that period of time that allows you to even be where you are right now, or where you're planning on going? What's life like before? Yeah, you gonna fix it why you said that?
I would say that, I think I've seen things change, but I don't know if it's changed too much, because I guess I've always been in an area where there's male-dominated fields, like the sciences and technology, and so I think still then, even though where I work, the top person is a female, but most of the major positions, the top positions are held by men. And usually the meetings that I sit in are predominantly male. So while you are seeing some women get through progress, I think that we still got a ways to go. And there was just in the news the report about how men still make, coming out of college, they still make less money than women, still make less money than men. But it's like $4 less than the dollar, maybe even more than that. I can't remember what it was, but we still have a ways to go, I think. I mean, you may see it differently because you're a man.
Not necessarily the same way are you saying. People who are going to, like you said, there, you guys are making strides. We don't want to bring the whole ethnic, part into it. We're just talking about gender roles, and how things have changed. And like you said,
I think you're going to start seeing probably in the next 10 years or more, you're going to start seeing a big change because more women are going to college than men are. And so I think in professional positions, we're going to start seeing some changes. Well, especially in, I know we're not talking about culture or race, but especially in the Black community, I mean, unless we just start doing something to get more Black males in colleges, it's a real big imbalance. We've already had an imbalance.
I think it's very important. I guess we can bring race into it too, because when you're talking about the Black community, you are seeing a lot more, particularly in this area, you're seeing a lot more professional Black women than professional Black men, for the reason you just said. A lot more Black women going to college than Black men. Or you definitely coming out of college too.
Okay, my opinion is a little limited, being that I've only been working for about a year and a half. But I would say that there has been significant change. I mean, we do still have a long way to go, but that doesn't mean that there's been no change at all. That doesn't mean that women have to stay stagnant. Because again, the evidence that I see is the fact that we have a woman running for president. And I'm pretty sure that didn't happen 25 years ago or 10 years ago or right in the last election. So being that we have a woman that's president, that's running for president, excuse me. Sorry, you're a little too far in there. Which one do you need? But being that we do have a woman that is running for president, and where I work, the head person in charge is a female, and she's in a pretty high position. You know, and then you look at every magazine, they have a 50 most influential women in America. I'm thinking 25 years ago, that number was probably 10. And so just based on that, I would say that we have made a lot of strides, and I know that I'll continue to make strides, and my friends will, so I think it's going to be good.
Do you think there's a difference in perspective? Like you said, you've only been in the work field for about a year and a half, and you've been in for a few more years, I'm expecting. Maybe 2 or 3 more. I said 2 or 3 more. I'm not going much higher than that, 2 or 3. Do you think there's a difference in perspective as you're here? Like you just came out, so you are probably a little bit more gung-ho about, and a little bit more, hopeful. Right. You haven't been burnt enough yet. But do you think there is going to be more of a shift, particularly as people are going into different perspectives? And you're seeing, like I said around here, you're seeing some more professional black females because of the numbers coming out of college. Do you think there will be a continued difference in perspective between the people who have been around for a lot longer and those who come right out of college?
I think the younger generation, as this young lady was speaking, probably have those sentiments. I mean, if I talk to my son, he would probably say it's hopeful, this, that, and the other. I've been around for a while, and I came from Delaware, and that's a banking state, and chemicals. And I have had the CEOs, tell me, we would rather hire a woman, particularly an African-American woman, over a man, because they feel threatened by the man. The woman, for the most part, even though she may be rising up in the ranks, she's still a woman. And she's what God created her to be. So no matter what, they're not going to be afraid of her. I've had women in high positions tell me that, I'm in this position because of so much I have to do. So, you kind of see them in those positions
about this? Because something I've heard you guys say a little bit is that it almost seems like the women who are in these high positions, it's almost like a symbolic position. Like, okay, they put them there, the men put them there to either be able to not threatening or just so that they can consider they are in this position. That's something that they didn't earn the right to be there. But it's still considered almost, I don't want to say a joke, but kind of a joke to the guy. Okay, well, let's put her, yeah, she wants to put her in there so we can say, okay, we're not going to have women in high, positions. Do you think that's true? Are these really just fill their seats and say, hey, let's have somebody there? Or is this like really opportunities for women to do that?
It's an excellent opportunity, but you have to see where you are. You have to see it for what it is. And you really have to be creative in your thinking process. You really have to think about it, because I know most people, in order for NDA to open up their headquarters in downtown Oakland, they have to hire so many blacks, so many Hispanics, so many men. And even though they have to hire them for certain positions, they only go on two, and of course they're alive, so yeah, they're there because of some number, but at the same time, they're also there because of who they are. They're not just going to pick you because you're a woman or pick you because you're something else. Believe me, you earn the spot to be here, but you still have to know where you are in that. Because it's easy for you to be, for one to be corrupt, and maybe corrupt is not the right word, but it's easy for things to filter in, and it's much easier for you to get fired, those sort of things. So it's, I don't know, it's not necessarily earned, it's just the way it is. And you just have to take it for what it is, and you can bank on that, you can build on that, and you can, expand on that, but for the most part, I mean, for some companies.
So what's it going to take to actually break through that glass ceiling and just like smash it? So you're not worried about filling quotas. You're actually, filling these positions because the quality of work that you've done. You would actually appreciate that and give you more responsibility. Saying that it's okay for you to make certain decisions and not worry about the consequences of being fired when you made a wrong decision. When they're not looking for reasons to fire you.
Being in a position where I can hire and fire, before anybody ever walks in the door, I already know what I want. I already know if I want a woman, I already know if I want a man. And that's just because of my need and what works well, what goes with what, who, so the idea of it being, I need a woman, let's put a woman in that position. Well, putting a woman in that position, what would that accomplish? Yeah, it may be that people feel less threatened, and that's what we need. It may be that a man needs to be put in this position because probably all of our clients will be men, and they work best with each other. So I'm in a different profession. My profession is predominantly female populated, whatever. It's predominantly female. So when I get the chance to hire a man, I'll hire a man, but majority of the time I'm getting women. In business, I can see that could definitely be an issue. But really, when you're talking about who's walking through the door, I already know what I need. I already know I need a man. I already know I need a woman. And so everything else becomes just about the interview and how well then can you do the job.
Anybody else? All right, last question I want to ask you before we go on to the next segment is, as professional women about to move into the workforce, having just moved into the workforce, or have been there for a little while longer, what expectations do you have for yourself when it comes to, striving to go higher within the company, or the work that you need to do to be recognized, to be quote unquote worthy, to be in a higher position? What expectations do you have for yourself? Okay, retirement's, you're trying to get there. That's part of the process. But the actual expectations you have, whether it's qualities or things you need to do.
Last week I completely monopolized the microphone, and I'm not going to do that. But it's interesting, and this is just speaking, if I could put something out there to people, it's interesting supervising individuals who come to work and don't work, or come to work and don't respect being at work and the things that go along with that. So we talk about expectations. What type of expectations do you set for yourself? I think it's important that you are constantly aware of what it is that you're doing and what you want to do. I have a lunatic boss who works 80 hours a week and expects that she works 80 hours a week and I should work 60, at least. And so, because I'm very ambitious and driven and see myself being at a certain level at a certain age, then that's what I do. That's the expectation I set for myself. It's very high. But I think this sort of goes back to the conversation that we had last week, which is, at what point is too much? And I don't even know if I can answer the question of what is the expectation I set for myself. It's just, it's excellence, it's everything, it's the best. And in that, constantly checking to make sure that what you want is what you're doing is really important.
The reason why I even asked that question, I'll give some people a chance to respond. The reason why I asked that question is because for some people, their enough point can be pretty low. All right, they're happy enough to just have a certain job, a certain position where they don't have to worry about having all these additional responsibilities being higher up. So they can do just enough, that's what you say, just to make sure that they maintain their current position, and that's fine. But like you said, you're ambitious. You want to achieve a certain level of range within your organization or your profession. For some people, it's not even that serious. It's like, okay, well, I'm making whatever I'm making. I'm going to get my incremental raises. Every now and then I'm going to get my little bonuses every now and then or whatever. And that's fine. I don't need to be VP. I don't need to be a president or a CEO. I'm fine being right here. Breakfast or something like that. But like I said, for the rest of the expectation we have is saying that, what is it that you are willing to look forward to achieve the certain levels of profession?
Well, I think, I guess at this point in my life, I learned the balance, that you need to strike a balance. And I look at my boss who comes in the office very early in the morning and stays very late at night. And granted, she can do that because she doesn't have a family, no children, or anything, but how long can you do that, and where's the satisfaction? Because making, $500,000 a year or something like that, is that what makes you happy? So I guess for each person, they have to kind of figure out what it is, that works for them. What's comfortable for you in your life, because I think to achieve that type of success, monetary success, it takes a whole lot, and it takes a lot out of you. So, you're talking about stresses that you don't even realize that you're having come on your body until years later. And people don't think about those things while they're working like crazy for what? Because if you die, I tell you, they're going to replace, I've seen it too many think, you know, if you have your own business and you're working really hard like that, it's different. But to just work like crazy for somebody else because you're talking about breaking some glass, I mean, to me, that's just kind of ridiculous. But I guess it just depends on the person and what it is they see in life.
Well, I have a next door neighbor lady, and she happened to be a black lady, and she worked. She had a husband that was handicapped, and they were a very loving couple. She went to a job and worked all day, and then she came home and worked at home. And I'm married. I have a husband that's now we've been married 35 years. We get along. I'm proud of it. But I'm going to say that I have a son now, he's 30-ish. And he's trying to boss me now because I'm old. He thinks now that I'm old, he can control me. But I got a message to all of y'all know a woman ain't going to let no man boss her. If she's got any intelligence in her toenail or somewhere in her body. And I'll be 71 this May 30th, and I'll be gagging as long as I'm ticking. Ain't no man, I don't give a hoot damn who is going to control me. And all I can say to all you ladies here, I wish you the best. I wish you to make a lot of money and to get the positions. And I also am praying Mrs. Clinton will be our next president. Because I sure as hell am sick of Bush. That's all I gotta say, honey.
Thank you, Ms. Jen. We're going to go on to the next segment, but one thing I want you to think about as we're watching this part of the film and we're going to the next discussion piece, think about the environment where you are putting all this effort into trying to bring people that are seeing and trying to achieve more. How that makes you interact, how do you end up interacting with other people as a result, whether it's on the job or off? You know, what kind of changes do you go through in this process of trying to achieve more within your workplace? So just think about that a little bit.